Joining me today as my co-host is our wonderful wine director, Megan Gunderson.
Hello.
Hey.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. I miss you.
I miss you too. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. It looks like you're down there in the tasting room. I mean, not in the tasting room, but in the down at the winery.
Yeah, we're at the winery.
What's going on down there?
So we are full steam ahead in production. We're busy racking. Obviously, the first priority is to keep our staff safe. And so we're practicing social distancing and providing everyone with the proper personal protective equipment. But there's wine to be made, and we're all grateful to be coming to work and to be able to do that right now.
Yeah, it really is so hard for those of us who are not in production, but who are really more on the hospitality end of this to not be able to see people. So it's a wonderful avenue, at least to have this, you know?
Yes, and we miss you all very much.
Yeah. It's actually very busy back there. I was down there one day when we were bottling, and it was like, wow, full speed ahead.
Yes.
So it's great. So we're going to talk today, Megan, as you know, about the art and tasting of wine. And so we need to have a little wine to sort of do that with. And I'm thinking the first step to that is opening a bottle. What do you think?
I think we should open this bottle of 2016-1873 right here.
I do too.
There are several types of wine openers. So this is my preferred kind. It's called like a waiter's pull. It's really easy to use.
That's my
favorite. You have one too. Good.
Yeah, I love those.
And then there's this more archaic model.
Yes.
But for today, we'll go with this. And so you simply just take this little knife here, and you want to remove just the top of the capsule here. So we're going to do that. I'm going to try not to poke my eye out. And then get your corkscrew and just work your way down into the bottle like this. And these are really easy. So the important thing about this is to go all the way down, and then you've got two ridges. So you've got the first stop, pull up, and then the second stop. And it's open. And that's a great sound, popping open a bottle of wine.
She's done that before, I think. Yeah?
Yes,
so
many times.
By the way, everybody, this is not just a conversation between Megan and me. We really want you all to ask questions. So any questions you have about what we're talking about, or even what we're not talking about the wines, about how we taste wine and sip it and whatever else comes up during the day, please just get your questions in and we'll bring them up as we go along. So we really want this to be conversational. So Megan, how about a little wine?
Yes, let me pour some for you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, okay.
Pouring over the top of the screen.
Yeah,
all right.
I got
Good work.
It's just amazing what one can do. Yeah.
It's true.
Okay, and so which one is this that we're drinking? This is the...
So this is our 2016-1873. And 2016 was a pretty dreamy vintage. You know, we had a lot of rain in the winter, so we ended 3 years worth of drought. We had 13, 14, and 15. We were really lacking rain in the Napa Valley, and then we had pretty ideal weather, slightly lower than average yields, but the quality of the 2016 vintage is incredible.
You know, it often goes that way, doesn't it? When we have lower yields, we have one more wonderful quality. You know?
Yes, yeah. Sort of just more concentration, more flavor, but it's all about vine balance. You know, we want a balanced vine, and that's what our vineyard staff works so hard, Dawn and Dominic, to kind of harness the energy of those vines and bring them into balance.
So one of the first things for me when I'm looking at wine is the color. I mean, it's just, that really will tell you something. You talk about concentration, and this is it's a beautiful color. You know?
Yes, nice and deep, almost purple to the hue here.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, this blend is 20% Sacrochet. So this is really kind of the core of this blend. And when we talk about 1873, this is a blend that comes from the eastern hillsides of the valley, the Vaca range, really, on the eastern side. And so And we're looking for power and depth and a lot of weight and a lot of ageability when we're sitting down to blend the 1873.
You know, one of the questions that just came in was about the what's the best glass shape for a glass? What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's so many different kinds of glasses out there for wine. You can see the shapes of our glasses that we're currently drinking from are different. You have a very traditional shaped Cabernet glass, Kathryn, a very big bowl, and that's really just to help aerate the wine and get the aromas, up to the nose. And I have a Gabriel glass. This is a universal glass. So this is what we use here when we're blending at the winery, and we can use it for all varietals.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like this style for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I also
and I think you can fit almost an entire bottle of wine in that glass.
Yes,
so that's key.
Yeah, I know. I dare someone to try it. I have actually tried that. You know what? It's just a little thing, but for me also about a glass, we talk about the shape, but also the way it feels on your lip.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's a little refinement, but we go to so many lanes to do everything right with the wine, and I love it when I can have a glass of wine that has a nice thin, refined lip feel.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying,
very,
that's very, yeah.
Very elegant.
I think so too. Yeah. Yeah. So
this wine, it's just incredible. We bottled this in February of last year, so it's been in the bottle for almost a year. And I think there's been a really great evolution here. I get powerful aromas, black pepper, a lot of chocolate. It's very dark and rich and lush. It's really coming together nicely.
Really is. Someone asked us about should you open a bottle and drink it right away, or should you let it breathe? What do you advise on that?
So that's a great question. I mean, it depends. For younger wines, sometimes it's good to go ahead and decant them. So because they're young and because they maybe need a little bit more oxygen to help release the aromas and the flavors in the wine, you can open the wine and decant it and let it sit for a little while. And then also if you have older vintages, 2005, 2003 or older, you can use a decanter to sort of pour the wine, decant it off that sediment, and also to help it open. But you don't need to do that. But I usually like to open my wines at least a couple of hours, especially with Cabernet, before drinking them.
I think in general, really good wines benefit from breathing ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
In the glass.
Yeah.
Well, this is very nice. Okay, we have another question that came in and wants to know, when you're looking for the cork, what do you look for in a cork? When you're examining a cork when it comes out? And I think we all have been with people at events where they'll at dinner, and they'll have the cork and they'll so
smell it. A lot of people are smelling the cork. If a sommelier smells the cork, they're looking for a chemical compound called TCA, trichloroanisole, and that is something that can get into corks and make the wine smell like cardboard or make it off. And that's something that we really try hard to avoid. We have a very rigorous selection process for our corks so that we don't end up with that. But it can happen, and it's not right. And if that does happen, you send it back to the winery. You also want a cork that has, a good density to it. We're looking for a cork moisture that's about 7%, and something that just acts as a really good closure for the bottle. And there's nothing better for me, in my opinion, than natural cork as a closure for Cabernet. It really allows a small amount of oxygen through and helps the wine to age.
There are folks who think that if you don't use a cork, it's actually greener, and we try very hard to be green at the winery. But in fact, it's not bad for the environment at all to use cork. I mean, it's something that regenerates easily on a tree, and we use corks on all of our red wines.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very sustainable product. The forests are mostly in Portugal, and they're very well controlled by the government, and they're very, very careful about respecting the trees and being as natural and sustainable as they can.
Yep. Well, what do you think, Cheryl? Let me see what we've got in terms of another question.
Do we have more questions?
Oh, here's a question. Yeah. Do we prefer, I think this is really to you, do you prefer blends or a single varietal? I'll give my 2 cents, but.
It really just depends on the wine. I think it's really fun with Cabernet to have other blenders like Merlot or even Petit Verdot. With Pinot Noir, with the Walt Pinots, I like for Pinot to be 100% Pinot. It's just, it's a varietal that lends itself not as well to blending as Cabernet does. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you prefer a blend or?
Well, what really matters to me is if the wine is luscious and wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more interesting to me to taste the different appellations. I think one of my favorite experiences that we offer at the winery when we're open, and we can do that. Although, by the way, we do offer this on our bespoke tastings. I'll tell you about that in a second. But what I love to do at a tasting is where you can sit down and you actually take one vineyard, and you can just sort of isolate just the different vintages off of that vineyard, or you can take different vineyards and put them one against each other, but try the different appellations. And so in that sense, I really like where we look specific, the specificity of that, of having a vineyard designated wine is very appealing to me. You know, but at the end of the day,
it's a unique and special thing to have that opportunity for sure.
Totally agree. Yeah. By the way, on the bespoke tastings, so we are, since we can't welcome you all in person, we are doing wine tastings online, sort of like what Megan and I are doing now. But in this case, it would be just between you and one of our senior wine educators, and we can design the tasting around you. You can tell us which wines you want to taste and go through, or we can put something together for you. So that's has been really fun, and we've done a few of them already, and I think they've been going pretty well. So that's pretty fun.
I think that sounds really exciting. You could even get together with a group of friends and coordinate a bespoke tasting, you know, and connect with people, not only at the winery and have this tasting experience, but also your friends who you haven't seen in a month, you know?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. By the way, who would not like to have Zoom stock right now? I mean,
I know, right?
It's just so good. So good.
It's fun. I've never seen myself on camera this much, but I'm starting to get used to it. So it's okay.
No,
right?
Okay. Yeah, you're looking good. Okay, one last thing, and then I think we should go on to our next wine, and that is the talk about legs, because we had a question that came in on that, and sometimes you'll hear people talk about the legs of a wine in a glass.
Yeah, so the legs of the wine, I just pour myself a little bit more wine here. As you can see, when you swirl the glass and then you let the wine fall to the bottom, you have these little kind of channels that form, these drips, and we call those legs. And that's just the alcohol in the wine kind of dissipating and forming these legs on the side of the glass. It won't tell you what the alcohol content in the wine is. It's just kind of a phenomenon of having alcohol in wine.
Yeah. Okay. So I propose we go on to our second wine. And
all right.
So that is, let's see, I think I'm going to pour this one for you. Okay.
Yes, you are. All right, here we go.
So this is our Howell Mountain. By the way, Howell Mountain, and it's also mountain fruit. We're doing mountain fruit today. We did with 1873, and also this one from Howell Mountain is really a higher elevation even than where I am right now at Rutherford, and I'm 750 feet. So, and this is even higher. It's a very special area. So I'm going to give myself a little bit here, and then let me just pour that for you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I didn't do that very well because my glass is still empty.
Oh, darn it.
I just failed you, Kathryn.
Oh,
All right.
you guys are going to know we didn't really do it. Mom. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you talked about elevation, Kathryn. This is, the Howell Mountain appellation is anywhere from 1,400 to 2,200 feet. So this is really high elevation ground. And there are two unique soil types, a red clay, an Aiken clay, and then also a volcanic tooth soil, which is what you've got at Sacrochet. But both soil types are very limiting, produce really concentrated, robust Cabernets. And it's an appellation. It was actually, fun fact, the first sub-appellation in Napa established in 1983. So it was the first area to really consider itself to be unique enough to say, this is a special area and we need to designate this as Howell Mountain. And there were several players who were key in that. But these wines are very special, tend to have warmer nighttime temperatures. So while the growing season isn't quite as long, you have warmer nighttime temperatures, so the ripening continues, and you get beautiful, rich, concentrated tannin and a nice acidity. These are wines that are built for aging.
So what do you think about the nose on it?
I think it's very dark and brooding, whereas the 1873 was maybe a little bit more fruit forward for me. There's a lot of earth, there's nice spiciness. I just get a hint of leather. It's very complex. How about you?
Yeah, same. I am not going to contradict you at all. I learn. By the way, this is one of the things I love. I say this often about Megan, but I don't get a whole lot of opportunity to say it in front of her. But I love being with Megan at our blending sessions when she's putting the wines together. And I don't know if there is a difference in the way women taste wine, but I do believe that our references are just different by virtue of the fact that we're women, you know. And I just, so often when you will, you'll use a reference and I'll think, oh, I get it. You know, I love that about this wine, and I love hearing you talk about the wines. So really,
thank you. That's a very high compliment. I'm flattered. Thank you. So, it's fun when you join us for blending.
I wish I could more. I also love, I mean, the mouthfeel on this is really so nice and full and satisfying. It's just rich.
Yeah, that's a hallmark of Howell Mountain. You have a lot of tannin, but it's very soft and supple. It's opulent. It's rich. This wine is decadent.
Yeah. So this year actually was a pretty problematic year. We shouldn't talk about this wine and not say a few things about 2017, which literally was, it was devastating for all of us. And
it was.
You know, it's just, and it made the wine, the viticulture, the vineyard process of making wine so much more difficult. Some things we couldn't even get to, and then on top, just the making the wine was really tough. And I think that what you and your team did, Megan, with this wine in 2017 is such a tribute to your skills and your talent. You know.
Thank you. I mean, that's where. You know, having we have a long tenured team. You know, we've worked together for a long time. Don and Dominic, I can't say enough about what they did in 2017. I mean, getting into vineyards that were restricted due to fires. What really helped us in 2017 was that we had a really strong growing season going into it. So the quality of the wine was already there. 17 was set up to be a phenomenal vintage before the fire started. And we source fruit from 13 of the 16 sub-AVAs throughout Napa. So while we were not able to produce a Mount Veeder in 2017 or a Terra Seca because those areas were so impacted by the fires, we successfully made beautiful Cabernets in many other areas throughout Napa Valley. We were careful in our winemaking. We made wine to the very highest standards. And I'm incredibly excited about the 2017 vintage of Hall Napa Cab.
Yeah. Will you talk about the finish on this wine?
Well, for me, there's good grip to it. There's earthiness, but there's so much length. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And then you just retronasally, which is a term that we use, is after you've swallowed the wine, I get dark fruit flavors on my palate. I'm sensing the oak. There's a little bit of toast there. That leather comes back that I talked about before. It's incredible. And for me, during this time, my husband and I have been deep diving into our cellar, drinking some older vintages of Hall, some older vintages of Dominus Estate. He works there. And I think 2017, like 2015, like 2013, and we've recently had some Hall 2007s. This is a big vintage, like all of those vintages. There's incredible ageability here, and it's going to lay down for a really long time, and it's going to drink beautifully 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Yeah. I got to say, I am drinking a lot of 2013s in our cellar right now. I'm loving the Kathryn Hall 2013 right now.
They're really opening up, aren't they?
Yeah. At the beginning, they were harder, you know, they're just not as pleasant. Like the 15, for me was just fabulous right out of the gate, you know. But now with a little time, you know, and they just with age, like with women, I think we all get better. You know?
We get better with time,
more complexity, right? You know. It's pretty great. So, what else would you say about this?
I mean, I think that we've had some questions about food pairing. I think that the acidity in this wine, along with those really robust tannins, make this perfect for, you know, a roast or a steak. If you're vegetarian or vegan, something like a portobello mushroom, you know, something with a little bit of meat to it that you grill, that would bring out a really beautiful earthy character in this wine. So it's maybe it's something a little bit heavier with a little bit of bite to it.
Yeah. And you can sort of you could even do this with the fish if you had a big enough sauce on it, you know.
So yeah.
So, but you got to just be a little more clever about the way you do it. I don't eat a lot of steak myself, and so it's nice to be able to have other great things that you can have with a wine like this.
Yeah.
You know, so these are both mountain fruit, both of these two wines that we had today, but they're different vintages, and I think it would be interesting, Megan, for you to talk a little bit about the differences as you see it between the two wines themselves. You know, I mean, vintage being an obvious one, but others.
Yeah, yes. I think 2016 for me right now, the 2016 1873 is more fruit forward. It's lush. It's got a sweetness on the mid palate right now, whereas the 2017 Howell Mountain is more earthy. It's darker. I think that comes with the vintage, and it's also got incredibly well-structured tannin that is not quite as well-rounded yet as we're seeing on the 2016 1873. But that's the direction that this wine is going to go.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. They're both wonderful, but just in a different way. Yeah, I think.
And keep in mind too that the 2017 Howell just came out of barrel in December. We bottled this wine on December 16th, so it's not had that bottle aging, that time that the 1873 has had. And also, we were only able to produce 16 barrels of this 2017 Howell Mountain. So about 350 something cases. It's a very limited production.
Yeah. So we have a question for someone who says that they have been a member of our wine clubs at least one of our wine clubs for 20 years.
Wow.
Thank you. Yes.
Cheers to you.
Cheers
right?
To you. Yay. And he's asking, like, what would you open, what should they open to celebrate if they were going to open one? They've got obviously a great series of choices. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have had recently 2005 Kathryn Hall,
Oh
which
my
is
gosh, what was that?
yeah, it's great. I mean, it was my first vintage at the winery. It was the first time that we were able to make wine in our Rutherford winemaking facility. So that was interesting. I love the way that it's rounding out. You know, the tannins are so smooth. It's still got beautiful fruit character to it. It's just a lovely wine. So that's what I've had, you know, older vintage of ours recently that I
Wow.
think is just spectacular. How about you? What would you recommend?
You know, I have not gone back. I had a 2008. It was probably the
Mhm.
oldest one that I've had, and I think that was the Kathryn Hall 2008.
Yeah,
You know, it's
that was an
pretty.
incredible vintage.
Yeah,
It really
yeah.
was.
We got a pretty decent score on that one,
We
I'd
did.
say. Yeah, we did. We did. I mean, I'm thinking that was so. Anyway, that was pretty wonderful. We love that wine. So
Mhm.
I am getting some signals here now that we're about to be cut off. So I want to say to everybody here, thank you so much for joining Megan and me. We love that you're here. We wish we could be doing this with you in person, but on the other hand, we're glad that we get to do this at all with you, and thank you. We really appreciate you joining. We are going to continue to do these SIPs every day at 4 o'clock with one of our three brands, every weekday at 4 o'clock. So we're doing Hall today, obviously. Tomorrow, Megan, are you on tomorrow? It's
No, our head winemaker for Walt, Allison Frichtel, is. Oh no, for Hall or for for
no,
Walt. Yeah,
tomorrow.
she's on
Tomorrow is
Walt
Walt. Yeah.
tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah, so she's going to be on for with Jeff Zappelli, the manager of Walt, tomorrow at 4, and then on Friday I'm back with with Craig, my
With
husband.
Craig.
No,
How are you guys doing? Are you getting along in shelter in
God.
place?
I thought honestly I was going to kill him at first, but then everything, you know, it settles in. I actually think we have had more together time in the last 3-4 weeks than we've had in so many years, and I'm loving it actually.
That's great. That's
Seriously,
great.
yeah, I'm loving it, really loving it. So anyway, Craig is going to be on Friday, and Megan will not be back on Friday, but then Megan and I will be back again, I think, next week. Megan,
I think yes.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's hard to go too many. Time is really hard to deal with for me right now, I got to just say. And then on Monday, we've got a Baca tasting that Jennifer is doing. So anyway, to everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Megan, any last words?
No, everybody stay safe. Keep drinking great wine. And we miss you all, and we hope to see you again soon.
Yeah. Cheers to everybody.
Cheers.
And cheers to you, Megan.
Thank you. Cheers to you, Kathryn. It's great to see you.
Great to see you. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks so much. We'll see you again every day at 4 o'clock. Look forward. Bye-bye.